Patrick, let's just dive straight into, I mean, this is a big fear for a lot of people getting started in an entrepreneurial type business, what they may not have any experience in, and especially in the billing and the coding experience. Let's kind of just jump right in there.
Yeah, because anytime somebody thinks of medical billing, the first thing that comes to their mind is codes. There's all kinds of codes. Everybody knows there's some kind of codes, right? So we want to talk about that today and see what is the difference between just being a medical biller and a medical coder. That's part of what we'll talk about.
Yep, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get right on in there. First of all, let's talk about what the first thing they need to know. And we've had this for a long time. Some people have noticed it, but we're talking about a revenue cycle management. That's one of the first things that we're going to teach, because that's the key part, because they're going to be they're going to graduate from our class as a certified medical revenue manager.
Right. So what is the revenue cycle? Well, as you can see from the chart there, and Eric can kind of point out some things as I talk about this, that starts with the claims preparation. In other words, you have to have that patient registration information in the computer for you to be able to even work with it and get it to the insurance companies or to Medicare. And then, of course, that involves the claim submission, where you're actually putting in the charge entry. That's the information that the doctor will give you for that particular claim. It goes through what's called a rules engine that kind of scrubs it and makes sure that it's clean, that it has no omissions or errors in it. And then, of course, it's transmitted, literally in this case, in real time through our real-time cloud-based system. Then there's the claims management, because once it's submitted, there's also things about the payment. Once the payment's made by the insurance company or Medicare, somebody has to post that. Well, we have an electronic way of doing that that will just actually, electronic remittance advice it's called. So it's an ERA. This is something that's sent from us directly back to you, so you can see all those payments in the system, and then push a button and let it post them all automatically. Then there's, of course, denial management. Some of the claims get rejected. You have to be able to know how to manage that, and that's a very important part of our system, because we have what's called a denial defender built into our system that eliminates most of those denials that other companies would have. Then there's the AR follow-up there for the patient payments, for example, and then, of course, the patient collections. Now, remember, you're not actually picking up the phone and calling any patients. This is all done electronically. We have an electronic method called a quick collect that goes behind the scenes and does the collection if payments are made by the patients. And then, of course, the reporting. The reporting is very important to the doctor. Eric, you do some billing on the back side for our company just to kind of keep our hands in the industry, and obviously that reporting to doctors is very important.
Oh, extremely important. I mean, this is the only way that doctors can kind of know what's going on with their particular business. But I know that we're sitting out here talking about revenue cycle management because, again, we're going to certify you as a medical revenue manager. So let's talk real quickly the difference between a medical biller and a medical coder. And as we got this set up here, you can see here on the left-hand side someone that is set up doing medical coding. What they're doing, they're taking the doctor's notes, and then they're taking those and putting in now not only a numeric but an alphanumeric medical code. Then the person on the right-hand side is someone that actually takes those codes after a coder has had them, and that inputs them into a billing system then for payments. This is about the easiest way that we can explain this. But Patrick, I'm going to get to the next slide here, because what we try to do, we encompass everybody to know that you're actually greater than either one of these as a certified medical revenue manager. Why don't you explain a little bit of that, and then we'll show the next slide about what they can actually do.
Yeah, so we have an organization called the Medical Revenue Management Association of America, and I'm the chairman of that organization. Basically, it's composed of all of the people who've been through our live training workshop here in Dallas. So after going through that week-long 40-hour class, you are certified, and you get this certificate at the end of that week that's handed to you right before you leave the class that certifies you as a certified medical revenue manager. Now, this is a new certification, folks. There is no official, what would you call it, Eric, a governmental licensing or certification out there. So we have the certification that you need to be able to present to a doctor that you've been trained and that you have the knowledge and the backing of our entire network behind you as a certified medical revenue manager. And there's nothing more important to the doctor, believe me, than their revenue.
Absolutely. And so once you're done with that, you can do the billing. We're going to actually teach you how to do the billing during that week of training. But more importantly, we want you to be able to grow your business to where you're not just doing the billing yourself, but like in this next slide, you can see that you're actually hiring people to do medical billing or medical coding. In a lot of cases, you're going to see that the system actually does the coding now for the doctor, which is sort of eliminating some of the medical coders' jobs that are out there, because again, we all know that it's the doctor's responsibility to get that, but there are still needs for medical coders to do some auditing and make sure that the doctors are staying in compliance. So just imagine that you are the head here that's able to hire other medical billers, because Patrick, we know a lot of our licensees that have already done that already. They've hired several types of these types of people.
Yeah, as you grow, let's face it, you only have 24 hours in a day, right? So you only have so much time that you personally could actually do the physical inputting of the data, submitting the claims, and doing what all it takes to run a medical billing company. But the nice thing about our cloud-based system is you can hire people anywhere you want, anywhere in the world, actually, as long as they have an internet connection. You can give them access to our system and let them do the billing for you for a particular medical practice. And so you can manage those people remotely, so to speak, using the technology that's available to you.
I got a question that came into the question box. I'm going to see if we can answer this before we move on. And it looks like, Gullum, you've asked the question, how does it integrate with other medical softwares that doctors already have, for example, Advanced MD? Well, our software doesn't necessarily integrate in any other billing software. It's a standalone medical billing platform that what we would do, we would take the information that's from, like an Advanced MD, pull all that data from that particular, maybe that doctor's current billing system, pull it over here, because specifically we want to do the billing out of the iClaim billing platform and the EMRX platform, simply because we have the built-in clearinghouse that Advanced MD doesn't have. That's the biggest part of why we were going to pull their information out and put it in here. So it's not going to integrate, but we can pull the doctor's information into our billing system.
Yeah, you've heard the term garbage in, garbage out, right? So if you have garbage in an existing system and faults within that system that doesn't allow the claims to go through and get submitted correctly without being denied, then that's garbage, right? So we don't allow that to happen. We will bring the data into ours, but it's all cleaned and scrubbed before those claims are actually submitted.
That's it. All right, so Patrick, let's just get down to some very, very basic things, because we're going to talk about billing here, but let's kind of just dispel a little bit of the myth about what coding is all about. And we would simply ask this question right here: what is medical coding? You want to kind of take it from there? And
basically, you all have seen something similar to what we're about to show here that shows that the words are turned into numbers, right? Everybody knows that these codes are numbers. They have numbers that refer to every part of your body, everything that could go wrong with your body, and everything that the doctor could possibly do to your body to help it get well. And so it includes the diagnosis codes and then the procedure codes as well. And Eric has an actual illustration of a real literal piece of paper that's submitted sometimes by the doctor and maybe even handed to you when you walk out of the office there.
Yeah, we're going to show that to you here, and let me see if I can make sure that I got doing all of my pointers correctly. This is what Patrick's talking about. So you go to a doctor. This is what's called a super bill. Some doctors are still using super bills, but that's what we're looking at here. This would be like the procedure code here, and then one of these other codes is going to be the diagnosis code. Remember, the diagnosis code is what's wrong with the patient. The procedure code is what the doctor has done for the patient, and that's what you're going to need from the doctor or even from a coder to actually for you to do the billing.
Yeah, now the nice thing is that we have this completely paperless. There is no real form like you see here that's submitted to you, unless it's submitted electronically, as we'll show you here in a moment. But the fact is that somebody has to give you those codes. The doctor and their office, they know what codes they've been using already, unless they're a brand new doctor then. And then our system has all those codes built into it, so we could actually help the doctor decide, or the system, I should say, Eric, right? It decides here are the codes that you could submit for a particular claim. So it's all built in. You don't have to memorize anything or know any of those codes at all. You certainly don't have to go to a coding school and become a certified coder, unless you're going to go to work for a doctor's office.
Absolutely. Or you're going to be a coder to do more auditing and checking and stuff like that. But here's the bottom line, everybody. When you're going to open up a medical billing company, like what we're proposing for you to do, you got to remember it's going to be the doctor's responsibility to provide you the medical codes in order that you can do their billing. Okay? We want to make sure that's the doc. You, even a coder, I explained this to somebody yesterday, Patrick. Even a coder doesn't really know what the doctor is really doing for their patient. Because the coder's not sitting in the room
right
when the doctor is seeing the patient. All he or she is doing is taking down notes. So it still is the doctor's responsibility to make sure that even when they do send it to a coder, that coder has coded what he or she wanted per that particular visit.
Yeah, and hey, by the way, Harold and Braguette from, I think it's Atlanta, yeah, they're on here today. And Braguette says, is there a CD-ROM that we'll get to install into our computers as well to serve as a quick check for the codes? Well, Braguette, the nice thing is that you don't have to have a CD or any software residing on your computer at all, because it's all built into our system. So literally, while you're using our system, you can look those codes up. And Eric, I think you went past the slide, or maybe I wasn't even watching there, that shows it on the iPad there, that will illustrate that the doctor can see all of the codes while he or she is actually looking at their iPad or tablet. There it is. And as you can see, that has all the ICD-10 codes built into it, and even suggests what those codes could be for that particular visit. It's fantastic software technology that's way beyond a CD-ROM, Braguette.
Yeah, and especially since an iPad, and you can't load software on an iPad with a CD at all. So
right.
It is a web-based system. So it's a software as a service. They just log in as you're going to log into your bank account or anything else. So that's where the software resides.
Yeah, and the nice thing is what you're looking at there is exactly what you would see on a computer screen as well. This is not an app that's usually a narrowed down version of something. This is our full system just running there on the screen on the iPad through a browser. The Safari browser that's built into the iPad. It's marvelous technology. Folks, you literally don't have to have any piece of software at all on your computer or your iPad or your phone as far as that goes. You can access this system from anywhere that has an internet connection and a browser.
Absolutely. Daniel, you asked the question, is the medical billing done with ABS as well, or does one need someone else to do the billing? Whenever you begin your own independent medical billing company, you're just an ABS licensee. We're here to support you, train you. We don't do the billing for you. You do the billing. However, you can hire people to do the billing if you'd like that to be done. That's why we showed that screen up there just a little bit earlier. I'll go back to this one. You can hire billers to do your work if you want to do that.
Well, I think you said, is there something else, not someone else, but something else that you actually need, I guess, in addition to our system? And there's not. I mean, it is a total system, and that's a question from Umar there too. He says, does your software, can it replace any other software being used at the doctor's office? Is it a complete solution to run a practice? Yes. What we just showed you there is what the doctor would be actually seeing on their iPad. Yes, we show you how to include an iPad when you sign up a doctor. That's covered by the doctor, of course, in their setup fee. But the point is, they're using our system as well as you, and so it all ties together beautifully.
Yep, absolutely. And Braguette, you asked, are you going to need different books of coding for different types of doctor practices? No, because all of that's going to be built in It's already inside of the EMRX platform, so you don't need different books or anything like that. It's all built in. So
Yeah.
hopefully we kind of answered some of those questions there.
Now, Brad, we've actually done a webinar where we actually show the system in more detail, and you actually can see that. But we've got some screenshots coming up here that'll illustrate that to you too.
Yeah, what we're going to do here is going to just kind of go through a scenario, step by step, of basically what's going to happen whenever you start doing the billing. So we obviously we want to ask the question: how do you get the codes for the billing? So how are you going to get that super bill from the doctor? It can either come in two different ways. It can come to you in a fax as a super bill, and then you would take it and manually input it into the iClaim system, or it can go into our EMRX system, which is our electronic medical record system, and then you get it from there. So let's kind of see what a doctor would do. So let's first of all say that a patient's coming in, and they're going to come in to see the doctor, and they've got a cough here. So the doctor is going to do their examination, and after they get through with their examination, what they're going to say is, this patient has a cough. Well, you can see right there, there is that code, an R05. How do we get that? The system actually generated that for the doctor in our EMRX platform. So the doctor's taking all their notes, Patrick, and it's kind of almost like magic. It just, once it recognizes what the doctor's already inputting into their notes, and it's going to give a list of some suggested diagnosis codes for the doctor.
Yeah, this system, folks, is so beyond anything that you have even heard about that it's hard for people to wrap their brains around the fact that they don't need CD-ROMs or books or any other knowledge about the coding, because our system has taken that burden off of you and put it right there in the doctor's hand. And they absolutely fall in love with the system when they see this.
So you see, first of all, that's the first code. That's what's wrong with the patient. It's the condition. You can see the signs or the symptoms of what's wrong with the patient. The next thing they're going to do, the doctor's going to have to do something for the patient, and that's where it comes in what's called the procedure code. The procedure code is going to be either a 5-digit number, as you can see here, and the first one's always going to be what's the level of visit. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 1 being more like a nurse's visit, with a 5 being a very well comprehensive visit with a doctor. And in this case, the doctor spent maybe 10 or 15 minutes with the patient, and then says, oh, you know what, you're going to need a shot too as well. So there's an injection code. So those are what's called procedures. So anything that the doctor is doing for the patient for the healing process, whether it's the visit or injections or anything else, those are become procedures. And now, basically, those two things are going to come together, and you're going to see on this particular screen, you can see on the left-hand side, there's the diagnosis code. That's what's wrong with the patient. On the right-hand side, this is what the doctor has done for the patient. The doctor is getting that information to you now to do it in the billing process. So, Patrick, if you give me just a little bit more time, I'll kind of jump through those screens there just to kind of show that. So then you would log into iClaim. Once you're into iClaim, you would then go to the part where it says billing, right up over there where it says enter charges, and it says professional claim charges, which is going to get you to this particular screen. You can see here it's pretty easy. And folks, if you haven't seen a demonstration of this, we would be more than happy to show you a live demonstration. So what we've done here, once we've clicked on that professional billing part of it, we see that it lands upon the specific patient that we want to look at. Once we're in there, we're just going to scroll down, and you can see here there's going to be some spots down here, this 1, 2, 3, 4, where we're actually going to put in the new ICD-10 codes. Whenever I click on that, you can see that we put in that R05, which represents that call. So again, it can come in, we can type that in there manually. Remember, it can come in as a fax, or if it comes in through the EMRX system, all of this will be inputted in there directly for you. The next set, you're going to put in the dates of service, then that code there in the middle, that'll be the procedure codes, and then these fees will automatically start populating right over here, as you'll see on this next screen. So once we put in the dates of service and we put in those codes, you can also see that we've generated the fees for this particular visit for this doctor. It comes out to be $128.31. Most people, when you go to the doctor, you know you're going to spend at least $100 to $150. That's where you're going to get all of this information. Once you're through with all of that, you then will click on this part right here which says create a claim, and you process an entire claim. Patrick, it takes no more than probably 90 seconds to actually do that. So a lot of people do ask, well, how long is it going to take me to do the claims for one day of a doctor? I would suggest probably less than an hour. If you go an hour and a half, that's probably taking a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's what's hard for people to believe, that a doctor could see, let's say they see 25, 35 patients a day. It doesn't take that long to do a claim. Literally, if it's a second visit from the patient, all the data's in there anyway. You pull it up, put in some new dates and codes, and boom, less than a minute to do a claim.
Yeah, and Patrick, with these, the system that we're seeing here, and what we're also showing, you might want to talk a little bit about this. These are the marketing pieces that our licensees do get. You can see here, they're nice. They're places here to put like your name and company name. But Patrick, you want to talk about the iClaim and the EMRX platform again a little bit more, and maybe how this fits in within even with their marketing?
Yeah. Now remember, folks, it's one integrated system. If the doctor needs to use an electronic medical record system, maybe they don't have one, they can use our EMRX. It ties in, though, with our practice management billing system, which is iClaim. So they're all one system behind the scenes, all written by the same programmers, all hosted on the same server. There's nothing integrated between two different companies or something like that. It is one system. But remember, some doctors have their own electronic health record system, and they don't want to switch. So that's why you can, just basically think of iClaim as you're going to provide the billing for that doctor, and not have to integrate an EMRX system into it as well. This kind of ties in with a question from Manohar. They say, how long is the correction cycle for the wrong codes provided by the doctor's office? Well, Eric, that's one of the safeties built into our system, isn't it? If the doctor gave us a wrong code, of course, our system would suggest, if they're using EMRX, the correct codes, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier one of the rule engines that are built inside it. It's called Denial Defender, and what it will do, it will check the codes against, whether if it's a female patient that a doctor may have inadvertently put a male procedure on. It checks that kind of information and makes sure that you can't submit a claim with wrong things like that. It checks for all sorts of things, so that when we're sending out claims in the iClaim platform, because of all the rule engines that are actually built inside of it, that's where, Patrick, we can drive those numbers down for rejected claims less than 2%. That's pretty incredible.
Right, and we haven't mentioned this, but nationwide, folks, doctors can see 35% rejection rate. That's money that they're not going to collect probably, because once it's rejected, they don't usually go back and work those claims. They just write them off at the end of the year. They would rather have that money in the bank account, believe me. So we can get it from 35% down to less than 2%. That's our nationwide average for our rejection claims, on the claims. Hey, there's a question here from Gary, too. Gary says, is it common for the doctor to replace their advanced MD software, or whatever software they have, for example, and therefore the cost with iClaim and EMRX? Yes, Gary, that's exactly what happens, is that sometimes, many times, our licensees walk in and the doctor has some sort of system that they're using or they're outsourcing already to another company, and they're just not happy with aspects of it, and so they switch to somebody like yourself. And yes, all the costs then end with that system, and now it's all involved in what they pay you to do the claims. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. All right. Well, we'll get to that question here in a minute from Brigitte, but what I wanted to do here, Patrick, is demonstrate a couple of things here, because again, stay on topic about you don't need a billing or coding experience background. The reason why is because the technology that we do have. The technology is an award-winning software. It is a web-based system. You can see it works on many different platforms. The only one that we didn't show on here was like a regular PC. It will work on a PC or an Android tablet or anything else, but you can see all the versatility that is absolutely needed for a doctor's office. They don't need new software. They don't need servers. They don't need an IT person. We can just get them launched pretty quickly here. And I think one of the things that you really like to talk about too as well is it combines everything, as you've already mentioned this, Patrick, into one cloud solution.
Right, and starting in the bottom right-hand corner there, folks, we haven't talked about this, but we do have a patient portal as well. One of the most robust portals you'll ever see. I mean, everything about that patient can be stored in that portal and accessible by the patient from any computer that has an internet connection. They can log in and see their past visits, their future visits. They can schedule appointments. They can see all of their prescriptions online. Everything is stored within that patient portal. And the great thing is that all that data is also available to you when you're doing the claims in iClaim. It's available to the doctor when he's looking at the patient and visiting with the patient through his electronic medical record system, EMRX. And then, of course, Eric, this is the shocking part to most people. They always think in terms of a clearinghouse being a third-party company that the claims have to go through to get scrubbed and submitted to the insurance companies. We're the only solution out there that has the clearinghouse integrated. I mean, we own the clearinghouse. It's a part of our system, and so there's no third party that you can blame for anything. If it doesn't get submitted, it's our fault, right? The buck stops here. That's the great thing about our system.
Yeah, and it's all connected. You're right. It's not one billing system or practice management system tied to an EMR system tied to a clearinghouse. It's literally all packaged within itself. And folks, that's where we're able to win. And I've got to say this, Patrick. We have, we've been trying to keep up with how many. When we do demos live, as you know, Patrick, and some of these people might know. When you become a licensee, we do your demos for you for your doctors, which means that you're on the call, we're on the call, your doctors are on the call. And Patrick, my best guess is at this point, we're closing now about 75% of all demos that we do for our licensees. It's just incredible because of technology that we can demonstrate here that, again, no other doctors have ever seen anything like this.
Yeah, now, Eric, we tend to, sometimes we talk about stuff that we haven't really explained to a particular audience, and so, folks, we're not assuming that you understand what this means, but wrap your brain around this. We, as a company, will do a demo, a live demo of the iClaim EMRX system for one of your prospective doctor clients. That's right. We are doing the demo and answering all the questions for you. It's unheard of in this industry. Nobody does this kind of thing. But we do that for you because we want you to get the client just as much as you do, because we make money on the claims that are going through the system, right? So we have a vested interest in making sure that that doctor understands the system and that they get all their questions answered. Well, we can answer all the questions. You don't have to worry about that. We're going to show the doctor, and like Eric said, it's 75% of them move forward with the licensees and become clients. So all the selling is done for you, basically, through those live demos.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to go back to this slide here, is because you can see that everything that's within the circle, and even all the different services that are within this circle, is being managed and supported by us at American Business System. So think of us as your back office to making sure that you're getting your clients, that we're supporting you with the right software, with all of the everything else that you need. And it kind of goes along with, I say, Brigette's your question there. What is the difference between your service and actual going to a school and maybe learning or going through the same thing? A school is only going to teach you how to do billing. They're not going to support you with software, with the demonstrations, with the marketing material, with any of this information. What you're getting here, as I kind of circle all of this around in here, you can see all of this through here. This is what you're getting, and you're getting this for a lifetime. As long as you're a licensee, you're getting this type of support. That's why leave the billing and coding expertise and experience up to American Business Systems, as we're fast approaching 23 years into business and doing this.
Yeah, so the difference is getting a job. You would go and take those courses to be able to get a job working for a doctor, right? Or starting your own business and becoming your own boss. That's the difference between us and just a school that just teaches you how to do billing.
Right. And getting back to the software, I just want to show you a couple of different things, and then we're going to show you some very important parts of the other services that go along with it. We've already explained to you that a lot of the coding is actually happening over here in the EMR system. But you can see here that we've got several awards that go along with that help support you even in your marketing as you go forth. But it's these other services that we want to kind of just share with you. And the two that we want to kind of key in on still has to do with coding. And that's these two that are right here. And I'll display these as Patrick kind of walks us through what these particular parts of it are.
Yeah,
First of all, we're going to code right.
Yeah, so if you haven't been on a webinar before, folks, those 6 services that he just had on the screen there, those are ancillary services that we've come up with for you as our licensees that you can offer to the doctors. You make money on each one of them, and they are wonderful ways of opening the door to get in to talk to the doctor about different services. This one he's got on the screen here, CodeWrite, is the one that answers all your questions as to whether or not maybe the doctor is struggling to figure out maybe which code to use, and he is not using our EMRX. Well, we have a service called CodeWrite, and we have 100 certified medical coders that are on our staff who can provide those services to the doctor through you. And of course, you make money on those services as the doctor has to pay for this. Of course, it's a paid service that the doctor pays for.
Yeah, there's a picture of that, and then just a quick explanation of that. Really, what this is it is really it's a web-based application that opens up you for a huge market of you as a licensee to offer coding support for you to your medical provider. So once you get into this business, from day one, if the doctor says, "Does your billing company do coding?" Patrick, the answer should be absolutely yes.
Right. And not only that, folks, but think about it this way. The doctor is looking to you to see whether or not you have the expertise. Well, if you just start your own business, let's say you find a book on the internet, you take a course at the college to learn how to do medical billing, you can't say that you have all of these resources available that we make available to our licensees. Why? Because it took a lot of time and money, took 22 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars for us to put together all of these different services to provide for you.
Right. And one of the good things about the CodeWrite position and what this group of folks will do, what you'll see here is right here where it says stop underbilling. Patrick, you want to explain what underbilling does for the doctor and then what overbilling would be doing for the doctor?
Well, the only reason that a doctor undercodes is because, first of all, they don't understand that they need to get paid for what they do, and because Medicare sometimes comes in and audits the doctor to see if the codes have been overcoded, and therefore he gets fined for it, they will undercode purposely. So the doctor is leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table when they could have been coding, not overcoding, but coding accurately to get paid what they should have gotten paid.
Right. And these are the areas of risk that we're showing you here. If they undercode, and let's talk about that, because again, we don't want to be too technical. Remember, the procedure code is what the doctor's doing for the patient. And remember, they said there's 5 levels of that: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being the highest. If a doctor's always putting the level 5 visit on there and trying to get the maximum amount of money, but their notes don't support that, they are overcoding. But what's happening here is because the doctors have been slapped by the hand so often with Medicare and all these different audits, they may be having a lot of notes supporting a certain level of visit, but they're pulling that down because they're afraid to overcode. Right. And that's why we say right up over here is that we find out that a lot of doctors underbill. It's because they have substantial notes to support a certain level of visit, but they're going down to the next one just so that they think that they're going to be safe and from not getting audited.
And that's because Medicare can fine the doctor up to $10,000 for each code that they find that the doctor has overcoded for. So They're overly careful about that. But with our service, the CodeWrite, and another one that he's going to talk about here, that's just called Audit Guard, we can help the doctor prepare for any Medicare audits that might come down the road, with all kinds of printed reports and charts and things that document that the doctor has tried his utmost to be as accurate as possible in his coding.
Yeah, so you'll learn how to even get past the gatekeeper, because we kind of like to use this, Patrick, as a kind of, getting through. Everybody's worried about trying to get through that first person there at the doctor's office.
Right.
I mean, you could certainly introduce yourself and ask the staff there, is the doctor under any medical audits right now, either from Medicare or from the commercial insurance companies? That'll get you past the gatekeeper pretty quickly.
Yeah, that'll get their attention. You walk in and ask, who's your audit officer within this office? Well, they probably don't have one, but it's supposed to be somebody that's designated to make sure that they're compliant with everything.
And we have this here real quickly, just kind of show you some of the reports that can be done. And the great thing about this is these coders that put these reports together, to you they may look Greek, but what's great about it is even once they put the reports together, you can even set up another go-to meeting and let that coder explain to the doctor, here are the areas where you could be coding a little bit higher. On some of these, you're coding too high. So the coders themselves will actually go into a meeting or go-to meeting with you, just like what we're doing right here with a go-to webinar, and explain these numbers to the doctors, get them back into compliance.
Eric, I keep looking down here at the questions because there's still some more. Maybe we just pause and answer a few of these right now before we get into the other slides that I came up with earlier. Here's one from Mukesh that we get a lot, and I think I know the basis for this question, but he asks, how many licensees do you have so far? Now, folks, remember, ABS has been in business licensing people since 1994. However, that doesn't mean that we have licensees that have saturated any one given area, because, first of all, back in 1994, we weren't selling the same system that we have today. Our cloud-based system has only been around for about 8 years. So not only that, but when licensees get the number of clients that they need, let's say to replace their current income, usually they don't continue marketing. So even though we have lots of licensees from coast to coast and lots of cities, there's not people out there like you would think continuing to market. Eric, we have a chart somewhere in all the slides that actually shows the revenue for a licensee, but basically with a handful of doctors, 4 or 5 doctors, folks, you can get to an executive income. I think of an executive income as six figures plus. And that's because of the great net revenue that's available to licensees in this business. This is what I call one of those secret hidden businesses that you can run out of your home and make more than all of your neighbors because of the money that can be made. So you want to cover that, Eric? That's a good.
Absolutely. I love doing this because this just gets down to the nitty gritty. There's no smoke and mirrors here, folks. It's just we're going to start with one doctor. You can see that, and we're going to base the doctor seeing 20 patients a day. Each one of these patients is what we call valued, or what the doctor would be valued, saying that each one of this is a $100 visit. So obviously, 20 visits times $100 is $2,000 a day. That's what the doctor in his or her mind is trying to at least have a threshold. That's in their mind. They're thinking, I got to make at least $2,000 a day to pay for the offices, to pay for my staff, and all the other things that they have to pay for. So if you take those same numbers, what you can make is you got $2,000 a day times 6%, and your average comes out to be at $120 a day for less than 90 minutes of work. Well, it's not too bad, but if you take that on a grander scale on what does that look like over a month, well, you've got obviously $120 a day times 5 days a week times 52 weeks out of the year. You're going to make on one doctor $31,200 per doctor per year. Remember, you're only working about 90 minutes a day.
And that's based on charging the doctor 6% of the revenue. And
that's correct.
We have licensees getting 7 and 8 and 9%. So That's on the low side.
And Patrick, this is a low volume. Most doctors are seeing 20 patients before noon.
Yeah.
So, folks, you can see here, we're not trying to blow up the numbers here. We're just trying to say this is the norm of what you would normally see. You imagine a doctor seeing 10 patients in the morning and 10 patients in the afternoon.
Yeah, when I go to the doctor, there's 15 or 20 people waiting in the waiting room at the same time. So I know they can see a lot of patients. And besides, the doctor doesn't spend but about 5 minutes with anybody, right? On average, it's the nurses that do all the preliminary stuff, and then the doctor comes in for 5 minutes. So they can see a lot of patients. Yeah.
And folks, if you want to see this and play with this yourself, you can go to our website. Go to our website, and underneath where it says income potential, you can see it right there. I'm going to get the little pin there. You can see it right there, income potential. Once you click on that, it's going to come up with these three options right here, these three right here. Just look at the first one. That's the medical billing income calculator. You'll be able to put in your numbers. You can say, oh, I want to see one doctor that's seeing 20 patients a day, and I'm going to charge them 6% of $100. And you're going to see that these numbers are going to roll out just like this. There's where we got the number from. That's how we did the calculation behind the scenes. But we wanted to kind of show that to you so that you could do this on your own. And really, Patrick, again, we're talking about just a family practice. We're not talking about any specialties here. So
right.
one family doctor can generate $31,000 to $35,000 a year easily with one doctor.
If you sign up a surgeon, for example, that surgeon's his typical claim could be thousands of dollars, right, per claim. And so you wouldn't even have to make 6%. You could probably charge that doctor 3% on $3,000 average, and you're making, what, $90 for every claim for that particular doctor. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, Andy's asked a question here about us as a company, whether we can provide an income statement. And, Andy, the reason I'm addressing that is because you've asked a couple of other questions here, so I want to go ahead and cover this. Andy, we are a privately owned company. We've been in business for 22 years. We do have a statement from our attorney who can give you a letter that basically says that we are debt-free. We don't owe anybody any money. We've never had any lawsuits. We don't owe any money to anybody. So we can tell you that we're a very stable company income-wise. Remember, we make money on the licensing fee up front from you, but we also make money on the back end. So we're let's put it this way, we're a cash flow positive company. Now, having answered that question, I want to answer his next question. What is the current demand for this service? And if it is, do you have doctors awaiting the services? Andy, I don't know how to tell you how big this market is until you actually get out there and do some of the things we teach in our training to go and market. Now, we don't encourage people to go market prior to the training because you don't know the answers to the questions the doctors are going to ask. But you'll find that the doctors are very open and receptive to this. We have doctors signing up every day all over the country with our licensees. So, yes, there's a huge need for this. That's why I wrote the book, The New Thriving Medical Practice, because doctors are struggling, some of them, to even stay in practice because their cash flow is so low. So it's a huge need out there.
Going through some of these, I'm just going to kind of bounce around here, Patrick, and it looks like we've got Louis is asking, how do you handle denials? Denials are handled basically before. You'll see this in a demo. You'll see that we can actually handle denials actually before they actually go out, because the system, remember, we have that part that's called the denial defender, and that denial defender will actually catch 99% of any denials that could ever happen. However, if it does come back denied, you're gonna see that the system will generate not only a code but an explanation of what happened and what you need to do to get it fixed. You put the claim back on hold and check with the doctor and say, hey, we need to get this claim updated or something fixed on this. Get that information, resubmit it, get it back out there. But 99% of the time, that denial defender is catching any possible denials. So we like to say, don't try to handle denials. Let's defend them before they even go out first.
Right. Hey, Umar asked an interesting question here, Eric, says if the hard part of the coding is done by a coder, then why does a doctor need us? He could be a licensee and just pay the one-time use for life. He's talking about our licensing fee, and then he can have his staff trained for this and need not pay just for us entering the codes. So the hard part to wrap your brain around, if you're not familiar with this industry, is that the doctors don't want to do this themselves. It's a huge headache for them, and they know that this is not their core competency, right? They were trained to see patients and help patients get well. So they don't want to do it, but some of them do, thinking maybe that it's less expensive to do it in-house. Actually, the doctor would be silly to pay our licensing fee to have our system when he could just pay you the 5 or 6% that you might charge the doctor each month for the money that's collected. Besides, the doctor then has all of the typical costs that he has now, paying his staff and the overhead and the software and updates and so forth to keep his own staff doing the billing. It just wouldn't make sense from a financial standpoint. So all I can say is in 22 years, that's never happened, Umar. Doctors don't sign up to become a licensee just so they can do their own billing.
Yep, absolutely. I see this last. I scrolled down here to the bottom, and one person says, "Please answer my questions." For that person, there are about 20 questions ahead of yours, so we're working our way down. So just give us plenty enough time. We've got Patrick. I mean, we've generated a lot of questions here, so let's just take the rest of this time, I guess, to answer some questions, and then we'll
Sure.
right before
Okay.
we'll go kind of finish this up.
All right. Andy says, "How do we track income and what all are we able to write off for tax purposes?" Now, Andy, that's a part of our training, by the way, is teaching you that as a business owner, you're going to have lots of write-offs. Most of what you spend in your entire life right now, by the way, can be a tax write-off by owning a small business. But that's between you and your CPA. We can give you some direction and some books to refer to for that kind of thing. But it's all tracked, by the way, within our system. So you'll know exactly how much money you're making because it's in the system.
Right. I think that one from Umar, I think you sort of answered on his other question there too, Patrick. So we'll just go ahead and skip to the next one. Daniel asked, what are some of the names of the other coding and billing systems that ABS competes with today? Actually, there's no competition out there because there's no other billing systems out there that have its own clearinghouse. So it's hard for us to say that we're competing with anybody. What we're competing with is basically the doctors themselves. They already know that they have to do billing. They feel like they've for whatever reason, they feel like they've got a handle on most of this already. But until we can show them and demonstrate to them the power of that built-in clearinghouse, that's why we keep kind of coming back to that. We want the opportunity with you to demonstrate that software, and that's all we're asking you is just give us the opportunity to demonstrate that, and you'll find out that there's really no competition out there.
Eric, could you go to slide 53? I want to talk in just a moment about the practice revenue report that we have software, folks, that you get that helps you prepare this report for doctors. Now look at this carefully, and you'll see that what we've done is we've taken the data that we got from the doctor's office through what's called a free practice analysis. We teach you exactly what to ask to get this information. Once you've got it and you plug this into this piece of software here, you'll notice that it comes up with what the doctor's increased revenue per year could be. And for this particular doctor, as you can see, their rejection rate was about 34%. And by the time we bring it down to less than 2%, look at the increase at the bottom line there. Now that's what the doctor sees, $230,000 in possible increased revenue by outsourcing the billing to you. Folks, this does all the selling for you. If a doctor is a wise business person, they'll look at that and go, why wouldn't I try? Why would I keep it in-house when I could make that kind of extra revenue?
Right, and a lot of people, I've even had people with me say, Eric, where are you getting that 34% rejection rate? Again, folks, I do a lot of the demonstrations already for some of our licensees. I did one the last 6 weeks. One ENT out of California, his rejection rate was 52%. I did another one for another group of licensees with a group of cardiologists. Their rejection rate was 64%. So I don't know how doctors are staying in business.
I
I don't
don't either.
understand it, but we're not making up these numbers. We really,
Yeah.
really are not.
And Daniel, back to your question about what other systems there are. There's lots of software out there, believe me. Just do some Googling, you'll find. But remember, it's not about the software. You're not competing against software, even though we do have leading edge software. It's you. It's you and what you have as a part of our nationwide network. See, we teach you to position yourself as you open a local office of the nation's largest network of medical revenue managers. We process thousands of claims every day for hundreds of doctors from coast to coast, collecting millions of dollars in revenue that the doctors wouldn't collect otherwise. Now doesn't that make you, doesn't that position you as somebody that's much larger than Daniel working out of his spare bedroom? I mean, unless you tell people that, they'll never know that, right?
Right.
That's why I call it a hidden business. My wife and I started making six figures working out of our home, and our neighbors and friends, even our relatives, were asking, what are you guys doing to buy, new houses and new cars and making the kind of money you're making? Nobody would know it. Well, we're kind of at the end of the hour here, aren't we, Eric?
We really are. Why don't you go through this, and then we'll try to tackle a few more. I know, Patrick, at the top of the hour, I'm going to have to pop off here because I got to do a demo for one of the people that are actually on the webinar this afternoon. So, Louis, I'll answer some of your questions during the demo. But why don't you go ahead and go through this part of it right here, Patrick, about talking about the guarantee, what the guarantee really is all about.
Yeah, so folks, there's no way in these webinars even though we do these every Wednesday at 4 p.m., we can't tell you all there is to know about this business. But that's why we came up with what we call our unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. It literally, there's no weasel words in this. Look at it. It says if at the end of the training workshop, for any reason, you don't think this business is right for you, that's your decision, right? Simply tell any staff member and they'll arrange for you to receive a full refund of your license fee. Folks, you can't go wrong. You'll spend only what it takes to fly down here to Dallas and spend the week here with us, and that's about it. It's very little risk on your part because you'll see everything we have during that week, including all the ways we teach you to find doctors. We teach over a dozen different ways to find clients that all work. And if for any reason you still don't like it, you just ask for your money back. That's the best way to find out whether this is for real, to tell you the truth.